Good morning, everyone. Welcome to your Hear Your Truth Tuesday. I am Leslie Pogue, your happy chick, chief happy officer, and all that. So, welcome to today. Today's topic is to think about how inflation is impacting your mental health. So, there's a lot going on right now. There are so many changes. We're reading about how affirmative action is changing. Um, We've already had the Roe v. Wade, and now we're really living in a time where inflation is just out of control. And it's not really new to a lot of people. The reality of that is that there are a lot of people that struggle with their finances, period. Like, doesn't matter what the economy is. Yes, obviously, sometimes it's better than other times, but for the most part, most I won't say most because I don't have stats on that, so I won't go that far. But what I will say is that finances is one of those things where even when you have money, it's still a concern. I can't tell you how many people I know that have a solid 401k or a solid retirement plan, and they're watching the stocks go up and down and all these changes go on and how much money they're losing and how much money they lost during COVID and all this. And it's still a concern. People like myself who are late to the party and saving for retirement are also concerned because, well, we already don't have a lot of time to save. Then it's also a matter of the income you're bringing in and all of that. So all of these are rolling around in a lot of people's minds, not to mention people with families and children going off to college. And there's so many, I mean, at the end of the day, to live the life we want. I don't even like to say the American dream because, whatever. Uh, I think you can guess how I feel about that. To live the life you want to live requires a certain income. Now, people will tell you all the time, I get this a lot, to sacrifice or to settle for this instead of that. And while I agree to some degree, there are pockets of time, there are specific instances where settling or redirecting your funds to something specific and you restrict or you confine. You see, I have trouble with the whole restriction thing. Like, I do not like limits at all, and I don't recommend limits. I think that you should live the life you want and don't wait to be rich to act rich. That said, be sensible and be smart about your finances. Understand where you want to go, what you need, what your goals are, what you'd like to do, and how you'd like to live. Everyone doesn't like designer this and going out to fancy restaurants all the time. Some people are perfectly fine with having just the basics, what they need, and that's all. Others are not. So you just have to design your life the way you want it and find a way to make the income that allows that for you. I know that's easy. I know a lot of people are like, that's easier said than done. And that's true. It's very, very true. What's different now, though, than when I grew up is all the ways you can make money with the Uber Eats and all these ways to. I can never pull on the term when I'm trying to, but when you can be self employed, when you can generate income from a variety of different methods, then that actually gives you other options. So utilize what technology has brought to us. Now, a lot of people have often clipped coupons and looked for deals and rebates and all of that. I've read articles that tell you to do that in a time of inflation. People have done that forever, bottom line. That's not a new recommendation. That is not a new suggestion. So many people have done that, clipping coupons and looking for rebates and returning this and selling. Like, I remember when I couldn't make rent, I'd sell furniture. I'd sell the furniture in my house just to make, whatever money I could on Craigslist or what have you. So people who are in need of funds get very creative, when they need to. So that's not really I won't say it's not a good recommendation, but it's something that people already do. how the key about inflation is it feels like it's outside of your control, right? You feel like there's nothing you can do. You're doing the right thing. You have the job, you're putting away what you can, when you can, and how you can. You're living on a budget, you're limiting how much you go out, you're spending, you're doing the rebates, you're doing all the right stuff, and yet things are still tight. There's no magic bullet for that. When that happens, though, you want to turn the focus onto you and your mental health and how well you're able to manage the anxiety and the fear that comes from those changes in your finances. I tell you, when your finances are not, when your money's funny, as they say, when your money's funny, it's not cool. It's not a good place to be in. So, what can you do? How can you feel more in control of what's going on? Well, the first thing is the obvious, which is stick to a budget. Create a budget. Again, be very clear about your life. Don't think restrictions, think about what you want. And that way, you will be aiming for the niceties and the comforts that you want in your life. Will you make it all the time? Probably not all the time, and possibly not in the beginning. But if you are planning for restriction, then you'll aim at restriction, and you don't want to do that, because later on it's like, oh well, I can't afford this and I can't afford that. It's because you didn't try to afford it and you didn't plan to afford it, right? The other thing is verbiage. You want to change your verbiage. You don't want to say that you're poor. You don't want to say that you can't afford something. What you do want to, you want to change the verbiage into that's not in the budget, or I didn't budget for that. That wasn't part of my plan. Things like that land and they have more of a temporary feel. Whereas if you say I'm poor or I'm broke or these kinds of things, they feel like an end place. Like this is where you're going to live. This is where you're going to stay. And you don't want to do that. So stick to a budget. There's lots of things you can Google to find to do. Make sure you're budgeting for some fun stuff in there. And there's lots of things you can find for free to do. Parks are still free. Beaches sometimes. I know parking sometimes is not free. But beaches, parks, libraries are still free. So just find those things you can do by yourself, with your family and friends that don't cost a lot or that are free. Call it out. Another thing you can do to gain control is call it out. Just name it. Say out loud that you're frustrated. Say out loud that you're pissed off. Say out loud that you don't like what's going on with your finances, with your 401k, with whatever is going on. Because when you name it, it gets rid of it. It releases it. You regain your power over it. Something else you can do, and I've done this myself, is you limit the amount of news you take in. I see people on their phones all the time and they're looking at YouTube and they're looking at all this stuff that's coming on and all this information. Honestly, if you are managing a mental illness, it really isn't good. But taking in all that negativity with what's going on in Ukraine, with again, all the political things that are going on, we're in an election time, all of that can weigh on you. So limit the amount of that that's coming through. And then talk to friends and family. They might be concerned as well, and they're holding in things. They're not sharing what's going on and how they're feeling and their fears. And maybe you can come together as a community and figure out how you can all do something with and for each other to make sure that you're minimizing some of that angst, some of that anxiety that you're feeling as far as, I don't know what's going to happen. And lastly, I would say get educated about money. I never really understood that money does have its own language, its own function. I never understood that. I'm like, it's a piece of paper. Like, what do you mean? You got to learn about money. But you do. Money is its own education. So take the time to get educated about it. Talk to a financial planner. You don't have to sign up with them to have a consultation with them, and get books, look at videos on it, but learn how money works. And that's also a way to help you budget better, save better, finance better, and have different plans for your life as well as your retirement and your kids' funds as well. So I hope that was helpful. As always, go ahead and follow me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, and follow me on TikTok, all at LP Speak. Again, I'm here for you whenever. Please write notes, respond, ask me questions in the chats, whatever, because I'm here for you. So until next time, go be